Here's a tutorial on a cheap, easy metal brake that's not too bloody flash. If we want flash, we'll just go buy one, you know what I mean? But this one is gonna get the job done. So, let's rock and roll. So today we're making a sheet metal bender. I've got a job coming up in the next couple of weeks and I'm gonna need one. But I'll be damned if I'm paying $6.99, $8.99, $900 for a sheet metal bender. I can make one myself. So, we're gonna make this a 900mm so I can fit a sheet of 900 basically. The width is 900mm. Overall, I've cut these at 1100 because I've got a fair bit of stuff to do on the top there to make sure it all comes together nicely and it's got hinge and all that. But we don't want to be bending on that part anyway, so I've had an extra 100mm on the end so I can do all that sort of niggly shit on the other side and not affect that 900mm bed. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to clamp these things down here and get that hinge in there, because the most crucial measurement of the entire thing is the center of this, which is going to be our hinge, needs to be exactly center of that point where those two intersect.
So this piece here is a relatively easy step. Because our hinge is a 12mm rod, we're just going to measure down 6mm and across 6mm. Obviously half of 12 is 6. And that should put us dead set, bang on in the center of our angle line.
Now we have two lengths of 50 by 5 angle that are cut at 1100 long, bang on my money, and one side we've checked out 6mm either way because it's 12mm rod, so I want it to be bang on center on that point at the center of the rod. So what we're going to do, this is where our hinge is going to sit, so once it's on there, obviously not bang on, but that is going to be our hinge. The reason we want it on the center is that's where you want it to rotate. You don't want it to be like this and then the whole, you're going to be doing this long arc. You want it to be central on that pivot, because that's where the turning point is going to be. I don't know if that's a scientific explanation, but I'm trying here. If you guys are making this, following along with the video, at the moment we've got two bits of 50 by 5 angle line. We've got 12mm rod that I've cut down to 75mm pieces, and I've just rounded off the edges, get rid of all the burrs. But yeah, that's the gist. Let's crack onto it.
Like I said, this is basically the only important bloody measurement in the entire game, so take your time on this part. Make sure it's right, because if it's not right, the rest of it's bugger.
So, what I've done is we're going to cut this little piece here and this little piece here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this like this and clamp it down on the top of this box section, and that's going to set this here at 6mm. This is only temporary, this is just to get these right, because this is literally the only crucial measurement in the entire project. Anything else can be all up in the air. But this one here needs to be straight and it needs to be center of the rod, otherwise you're not going to get the perfect pivot. So I thought this is quite a good idea. All about making it easy for you, mate, you know? So I'll carry on. Fasting again.
So that's basically 6mm plate that I've put on top of the angle to make sure it's set down exactly 6mm, and that's where the rod's gonna sit. It's like a guide, it's great.
So I've got the hinges tacked in. I've got this piece underneath, which is gonna be the fixed table, if you will, or where the blade is gonna be put on. But what I've done is I've just wedged it up underneath our hinge, and I'm just gonna mark it. But what I've done is found one of these lying around. I'm not a builder, don't know what it is, but perfect size, like 1mm, 0.9. So I've cut little bits off and I've put them in here. You don't want this to be hard up on the other piece, otherwise it can bind when you're trying to bend it. So I've given it a space of 1mm all the way across. So yeah, now I've just got to mark these out, like so, and scallop it out so it doesn't foul on this. Easy, I tell you. Someone's making a lot of money out there and it ain't me. Just keep watching this stuff and I'll save you buckets. So, here we go. It's all clamped up at the moment. Obviously it's not finished, but the crucial part is done. Easy, super simple, you know? I've got it all bloody level, so it's like I bought one. So yeah, so we've got this welded in, we've got this scalloped up, so now it'll be able to go around. And with that scalloped out, it's now going to sit up against this 1mm packer, or 0.9 packer. I'm going to put a plate on here, then I'm going to make another plate that bolts onto that plate, because like I said, I want this to be able to come off in case I need to make a new one do something in the future. I don't know. But so there's going to be a plate welded on here, then another plate that's going to bolt onto that with the 12mm hole, which is going to hold that in place. And then the rest is just, it's so easy. And also, it's all on SketchUp, man. So if you're thinking to yourself, fuck John, how do I make that? That's not easy. What are you talking about? It makes no sense. Well, I've done the drawing for you. The measurements are there. You can make it at home. I got you.
So now that we've got our hinges done, it's time to make the side plates. And when I say in a minute, it's quite confusing, but believe me, it makes sense soon.
Now that I've got this welded on here, this is going to be the face where the plate holding this is bolted onto. Keep this piece, the bender part, that part is going to be held on with 2 bolts that are going to go through here and go through there. And I'm going to cut that piece at 65 by 80. Because I can. Now that I've got this plate on there, what I meant is, so I'm going to have to obviously drill a hole for this, find out the center, bring it in, find the center where it needs to sit. I might not have gone high enough. But yeah, so I need to find where that's going to land, drill the hole in that. That's going to bolt onto there. That means that this is like the masterpiece or the main piece. And this with the 12mm hole, ramp through there, we got a bolt on. I'll do some magic. Ready? Boom! There, easy. One 12mm hole. We got our 2 bolts down here that are holding it on. I know you guys are all going to say, oh, that's going to wear out over time. That's why it's bolted on. So I can take it off and make another one. Doesn't matter. Easy, simple. So, next part is to build the plate or the holder that holds the steel down. Let's jump into it.
I think you're probably starting to realise that I don't take things too seriously. And that's the whole point of this channel. Just get out of your head and into the shed. Stop that head noise, just have fun and roll with it. Whatever you make's gonna be cool.
Small little oversight. I didn't think. Makes sense now. Don't crucify me. When this is on its side, on the angle like that, it's actually longer than 50mm. No, I know. So, what I've had to do is put another piece of angle here, which is kind of good because it gives me a fair bit more strength through this whole table piece. So that's going to be able to weld right down there. And I've grinded grooves into the top of it, so it just gives me a bit more penetration or a bit more surface area to weld. Stronger, basically. I've clamped these on here now, so it's all level, perfect. So I'm just going to tuck in.
And I thought I'd better let you know that I didn't need to put that in the video, but I thought it was important to show you that we all make fuck-ups, and it's okay.
And here it is, bolted, welded. So, now I'm about to clean it up. Here's something for you guys as well. So, I used to use these all the time, and they're like on a 15-degree angle. So you're grinding on that sort of plane. But because it wants to be super flat, they do these, which is basically on like no angle, and it's inset the cut, so you can run it along nice and flat, and you're going to get a real flush finish. So these things are weapons and just make your life so much easier. So if you're doing something like this, go to your local hardware store. These are from Bunnings, so yeah, give them a crack, make your life really easy.
The best thing about these things is that they don't get any of those gouge marks that you get from a typical grinding wheel. Definitely worth a crack.
So everything's on, bolts are on, the blade can now move up and down. The idea was to have springs underneath that to make sure when I just undo the bolts it lifts up and down. Unfortunately, I'm not that clever. They're too small. So now that I've got this bar up here, I've got to make some sort of contraption here to keep tension on this plate. Make sure that I've got a completely flat bending surface the whole way along. The worry is if I put plate in here, try to bend it up, this is going to flex and I'll get a real round radius, which I don't want. I want them to be quite tight bends. But before I do that, head to Shoot the Bunnings and grab me a little spring. And I'm going to cut that in half because it's a bit long. Because I need to be at full compression. Needs to be at this gap here, which is about 10mm. But yeah, so I'm going to cut this, put it under these pieces, Then build this little thingamajig. Yeah. It's looking
So
good.
those springs aren't anything special. They're literally just to help lift that bar when I undo the bolt so I can get the steel out easy. And the boys popped in for smoko. Beautiful.
So, we've got our stiffening bars at the top here. I made this out of a little bit of gal pipe. Just a little bit of threaded pipe that I bought from Bunnings with a washer on the top and a nut here. I've also locked it out on the top, so I use that nut in the middle as the sort of locator or to be a part of the stiffening brace. Then I put this lock nut on top, so it means this threaded rod won't move. But when I spin that, it's going to push down on this piece, making it super level. I don't have a huge problem with it not being level at the moment because it's actually quite thick angle line, but just in case if I was to bend anything super duper, it's not going to flex. So that's the idea of this anyway, making sure that it's flat all the way along rather than having a bow when you lift things up. It keeps your bends consistent and it keeps it so they're nice and sharp.
And now it's time to make the handle. This is 40 by 5 box section, so major overkill, but that's what I had, so I made it work. Just like that top tensioner that we put on the top, this is going to act like one from the bottom, so keeping it nice and stiff and making sure that bottom blade doesn't bend.
And there it is. So, just finished welding up the handle, which is just next level. Really did not have to be this strong. It's 40 by 40 by 5, but it is what it is, and I like it. So, I've got to clean it up and weld it on here. I went long on this edge, 500mm, because then it gives that whole piece there a real strong back, if you will. And I thought about cutting it on an angle so it's out here and stuff like that, but I reckon it's going to be annoying walking around, so I decided to go straight down look. So I'll get to welding this on, and there's our handle. No, not yet. In a minute. So, here we have it. Got everything done. We've got our top bar done, a handle on, hinges work, bolted down, springs are in. I suppose you'd better bloody see if it bends, or you kind of done it for nothing, haven't you? This is like 2 mil, I think, or 1.8 maybe, I don't know. I haven't got any verniers, but we'll see how it goes. It's definitely bigger than what I'll be ever doing. It'll be a telling test. But the cool thing about being in the shed and doing it is you can just fix it if it doesn't work. Put that in, bolt these things down. I might make some handles for these eventually because I'm already getting annoyed and I haven't even bent anything with it. She's pretty good, mate. It's even all the way along. It's not super sharp like a machine, but it cost me $100 to build. I'm happy with it, you know. And if you wanted to change it, make it even better, you'd make that a way flatter surface along this bar here, and I think you'd get it sharper. But to be honest, I'm happy as Larry. I am happy as Larry. So do with that what you will. But yeah, stoked.
So, it was time for paint. So I cleaned it all up and got ready for paint. The boys popped in for a second-hand high off the fumes, and I got to work. Didn't take me too long. That can of spray paint cost me about $10 from Bunnings. Again, geez, I need sponsorship. And then I started to put it back together. Probably could have waited another 5 minutes because it was a little bit wet, but hey, doesn't matter.
And there it is, in all the glory. Works a treat. Looks awesome. I'm going to make a short of the stand because I don't think you guys need to watch or want to watch me bloody jimming up some stand and making it on a frame. If you want to, I'll make a short on it and you can watch that. But for the time being, I like the way it's mounted on my bench. It's not in the way, just on the side there. And if I need to, because the project I'm going to do is I'm going to do some sort of geometric cow or horse. I haven't quite decided yet, but so there's a lot of bending, a lot of symmetry in it, and this is going to come in real handy. If I was going to get it done from like the laser cutters and bend it from there, I just feel like it wouldn't be feasible
for just the layman in their garage to do it, and that's the whole point of this channel, was just being able to get out of your head and get into the shed. But just be able to make cool shit and stop having to buy it from somebody, because mate, these tools are expensive, and if you want to do things, you kind of get disheartened when you look at the price of this shit. You're like, this here, like $1,000 to buy like a decent bender, but this cost me seriously, I reckon, under $150. I'm going to do a full cost rundown of the whole thing, but yeah, bugger all, and it's a good time. Have a couple beers with the boys while you're doing it. It's great. So yeah, I'll bend some steel up, and show you how it works. And that's it there. I mean, it's not the tightest bend, but uniform, you know, and that's all I need. It doesn't need to be super sharp. If I wanted to make it super sharp, you could. You just have to change a few things about the lead on this edge. That'd make it a lot sharper. Beautiful, well that's it, the bender. Now on to the next job. I've got to make a stand for it, but I'm going to make a short out of that, so that'll be nice and quick. But yeah, thanks to Certified Welding for hooking me up with the steel, helping me source it, and TGA International for the abrasives. Love you guys. Thanks heaps. See you next week.